Welcome, scholars and fellow adventurers. So, I've been looking at a heavy attack 1 bar DK with the Oakensoul ring. I had been sort of getting ready my character on PCNA to change the gear out, and I decided to come on PTS to do some testing before I spent all those transmutes. So anyway, this is sort of what I came up with. I've been having lots of discussions with various people over with arthritis, or we're all older gamers, just not being quite as fast off the mark as we used to be, and still trying to get enough DPS to be to A, enjoy the game, and B, part of group content. Especially as we work our way into doing more more vet trials. So this is what I've come up with. So I tested quite a few different sets. These are the ones that actually came out relatively good. It was the Undaunted Weaver was second best. Burning Spellweave was close third. It was actually almost on par with Sororia, and I didn't include that because it's a trial set. These are all easy to get, and I got the job done quite well. Calorians was actually not as good as Burning Spellweave on this build, despite the funness of the animations for the procs. But I'll talk about that again when we get to the Necromancer. So, DK. So in the end, I've got Pillar of Nirn. Kind of goes nicely with the DK's sort of stone and rock based sort of theme. So even though it's not fire, it goes with the theme. So that was nice, and it worked out on top. So of course it's paired with Sergeant's Mail from Waywest Sewers. Most of it I farmed by myself as a solo because it's an easy dungeon to solo. Got a few guildmates to come along with me, and we got some purple gear and got other pieces for them. It took me a while. I finally got the lightning staff, which is paired with here. And you want it imprecise. This one's, again, already comes on the PTS. Is great because it already comes with the appropriate trait. So, cuirass, staff, jewelry. Jewelry's been done in Bloodthirsty with a spell damage glyph. Oakensoul ring. This is normally you would probably end up making it when you first put it together. It comes out infused with Harmony or one of the other ones that give you max stats. So put a spell damage glyph on that one. And if you're going to be recreating anyway, make it in Bloodthirsty. I'm not on all these builds that I'm going to put these little videos out for. I'm not running an execute. So having the Bloodthirsty is very, very helpful. So, yes, it is a medium armor set. Slimecraw is light armor. So Undaunted wise, we get our health and stamina back for taking our synergies and things like that, and for having the different types of armor on your body. And I've got the cuirass here because you're going to take, so some people have been away and some people have been playing long enough that they've forgotten that they've changed armor. So now having a heavy piece on the body actually has a penalty. It has bonuses, but it also has a penalty. So if you're going to take a penalty, it doesn't matter. It doesn't increase or decrease depending on which piece you have. You simply have to have a piece. So if you're going to take a penalty, it's better to take it for a cuirass than a belt buckle, right? So cuirass or legs would be ideal. I have one that's actually running with shoes, the Sabatons, because they dropped in Divines in purple, so I use them. But this gives you more armor, might as well take advantage of it. Again, you're got 5 pieces of medium, so you're going to want the passes for those. So that gives you things like dexterity, which increases your critical damage and healing done by 2% per piece. So you've got a current bonus of 10 with 5 pieces off. There's other things like, you know, being speedier, having your health, your stamina recovery, which is also really good because this is a heavy attack build. You're getting your Magicka back all the time. So you might as well get the stamina return that the medium gives you. It also increases your spell damage by 2% per piece as well. So another 10%. It's totally worth wearing the medium. And I've got the light anyway, because she also swaps back from a 2-bar and a 1-bar build. So I've got all my light as well. Heavy's a little less important. You are wearing one big piece of it, so you might as well, if you've got the skill points, go for it. You know, fill them all out. But the ones that are nice is your health recovery is increased, and your healing received is also increased for each piece. So those are nice. Anyway, that is the clothing, your gear, I should say. Okay, so we might as well look at the skills since we have it open. Let's go to weapon. Now, this is what she's normally running. Not that, I was just doing some other testing. Unstable Wall of Storms, because you're wearing using a lightning staff. So your Wall of Elements in the unstable form is Unstable Wall of Elements. It's Unstable Wall of Storms because you're wearing a lightning staff. So the next one is your Scalding Rune from your Mage's Guild skill line. That's in here. And it is further along, so if you haven't been leveling Mage's Guild, because it is a pain in the ass to level, and you haven't got this yet, then use this one. That's class ability from your Earth and Heart. It's Eruption. It puts a thing on the ground. There's 2 more. This one does more damage. The other one heals you while you're standing in it. So that's also nice. So you can use that instead of the lightning storm of the rune if you don't have the rune yet. But I would recommend working at least getting your Mage's Guild up far enough to get that. The other thing, if you do have your Mage's Guild leveled up, this is a much better option than your standard might. It definitely added quite a bit more damage to the build. But when I was doing my testing, for the main part, I was using standard might because my Mag DK on PCNA does not have Shooting Star yet. I did do the parses with it. It was substantially better. But this is what she had to work with. Your other dot, so we got 2 flame dots. We got this one. It takes a little 2 seconds before it starts to tick, but it hits hard once it starts to, and it lasts for 24 seconds. So that's really nice. And it does additional flame damage over 26. So you get 2 more seconds worth of damage even once it starts to disappear. That gives you time to get it back on. It gives you 2 seconds of leeway. So you can always get this one down first. This is 24 seconds. Again, very similar. But it is 24 as opposed to 26. And then my spammable is Burning Talons, which is very odd, but it works. It's also 4 seconds, which is about the length of a heavy attack. So it works. It works really well. And then there's just a survival. You know, you could put this, you could put Inhale. Inhale, deep breath. That gives you some flame damage, but also returns health based on that damage. And so if you're in a pile of mobs, you get more health back, if I remember correctly. And channel Dragonic Energy and suck the air around you, dealing 3,805 flame damage to nearby enemies and healing you for 110% of the damage done. So if you're in a group, you get more heals than if you're just like with one boss or whatever. But so you can swap that out for, you know, use this in mobs, use this one in, you know, boss fights, whatever. But I always recommend having at least, it becomes too much of a symphony if you've already got 5 skills here that you're using for damage. Unless you've got one that is like, you know, 36 minutes long, like if you had, I don't know, something else, you could do that. But honestly, it's better to have survival. That makes this more of an all-around build for everything. So that's the skills. We've got Unstable Roll of Storms, Scalding Rune, your spammable is Burning Talons, Engulfing Flames is one of your dots, survival, using the Standard of Might for your ultimate. And or if you have your Mage's Guild leveled up, Shooting Star, it is the best. All right, now there's lots of other passives we could go over, but if you want to go over the passives and why they're important, you can watch Side Note or Lucky Ghost or somebody. But those are the ones essentially you need to know, and the just take your passives. It's just as simple as that. If you've got the skill points, just have them all. And if you're not, then choose the ones that are the most relevant. Healing received, you know, health recovery from this skill line. If you're going to have one of these skills on your bar, you might as well have them. Some of them doesn't matter whether you have got a skill on the bar or not. They're just there. You've just done them, so you're good. And, you know, duration of your Earth and Heart. Well, we're not using any of them unless you choose Eruption. So, you know, don't worry about it too much. So when you cast, see, there are things like when you cast one, then your weapon damage increases. So, you know, it might be worth putting that Eruption on. This didn't end up being better than the Flaming Rune. I mean, it might work if you've got more, it's a larger area. So if you're in trash, you might want to put the Eruption on instead of the Fire Rune, just because with greater groups, it's going to be more powerful because this has got a smaller radius. But single target fights, this is your better bet. All right. So, covered gear. We've covered our skills. Let's look at our CP. So, one of the things, if you're not used to running a single bar build yet, if you're just starting one out, make sure you have this passive. Because you're only using the one weapon, you go through your weapon enchants quite quick. So which is perfectly fine if I mean, usually there's enough soul gems to, you know, choke Mayroom's Dagon from that matter. But if you don't have an add-on that's recharging them for you, it's pain, because you are running out of them. One dungeon and you practically have to recharge it. So you might want that one. For this particular build, I've been using, you have to have this one, really. This is because it's a heavy attack build. You need your weapons expert. Get all these eventually, both sides, because you are doing physical damage. And I think one of the alternatives also does poison damage. So get them all. But first, get your slottables, and weapons expert is essential for the heavy attack build, and so is deadly aim. So those two, yeah, go for first. Thaumaturge, you're burning all the time, so you want that dot buffed as much as possible. And most of the stuff you're using, even Fire Rune, and then if you're changing it out for Eruption, you want that area effect. I tried this one and this one. This one's nice. It probably was about the same, because I am standing behind a target dummy. Gotta remember that it's a target dummy. But if you're more mobile and you don't have Wizard's Wardrobe and you're not swapping out for boss fights versus mobs, then just go with this one. And that's pretty much everything there. The other thing that's a little different running with the heavy attack builds is because you don't need Magicka Return, putting in something like Strategic Reserve and Bloody Renewal are really useful, because in content you are killing things, they will return loads of resources. If I'm running with groups, I tend to put Spirit Mastery on, especially if it's vet content or something where you're expecting that someone will go down. That just means that there's another person who can res them, or everybody there can res whoever they're closest to, right? Very handy. So I usually swap that out for this. Keeps my dodge rolls good between my medium armor and this. You can, dodge roll for days. Also important if you are running Undaunted Unweaver, because you need a stamina ability that you use every 10 seconds. And you need the stamina for that. So one of my other builds, which is coming up, I'll talk about that again. So that's the CP. Slight changes from what you'd expect for a 2-bar build, wearing light armor. So, what else am I missing? Oh, yes, food. So, again, another change from running a 2-bar build with light attacks. And because you don't need that Magicka Return, you can choose just max stat food. I've been running, one's currently got Eruption pickled fishbowl with a max health and max Magicka. You can also use like Princess Delight. It only gives you max Magicka, but it's super cheap. And almost every character probably has it, because that's one of the ones from one of the events. Mud Ball's another one. Most of your characters probably have that by now. That was just the event that just finished. And that's max health and max stamina. And it's, I think, maybe even higher than this one. And I think it's Bunny Hash. Minstrel Bunny Hash. That's another one that's max stats. Might be also Magicka and stamina. Can't remember. But those are all just options. Max stat foods. Have your chicken dinners or whatever it is you get from your these things. Crown fortifying meals. It's not as good. You're 800 less on your Magicka and your stamina. But it's, essentially free because they just give them to you. You can run that too. But using the pickled fishbowl or the mud balls works really well. Potions. Just use your regular old tripods that you get given. Those work fine. They give you all the benefits. Just if you've got your medical use in your crafting skill line. The two important ones to have in all your alts are Gourmand and Connoisseur. They add 20 minutes when you get them fully leveled to all your foods. And I mean, everything's pretty cheap these days. You don't really have to run Bewitched Sugar Skulls, so more important if you're a tank or a healer maybe, but it's really good to get them in all your alts. The other, probably even more important one, is medical use, which your potions last 30% longer, so you're looking at almost continuously being able to use your potions. So yeah, very important to get that. Your other option for if you're making your own potions. Tripods are really expensive to buy right at the moment, but it's pretty cheap to make potions of immovability, which is just max health, max stamina, and immovability. And I think they just use common alchemy ingredients. There's no dragon's blood or any of those sort of things that you need for those. And they give you a little bit of CC resistance while you're running around in content. So they've been really very nice. So that's, we've got our skills, we got our swap outs, we've got our CP, our food, our potions. Now, let's just talk about rotation here. So with any of these heavy attack builds, the most important thing is just to keep your dots running and always heavy attack. You don't have to have a specific rotation. This one happens to work out that your Wall of Storms is 10 seconds. These two are 24. And probably even logically, it'd be better to have them this way. The problem is, I find, because this one needs to be refreshed more than this one, because this one's got 2 seconds of leeway, right? Anyway, I find that on my second key, it's just easier with my hands to get a ground effect ability down than it is trying to use my index finger on 4. So these are arranged this way because I have a bit of arthritis, and so this is the closest to my index finger, and this one means that I can keep my middle finger straight, and that helps a lot when you're going through very active content, to not have like a huge finger cramp in the middle of your gaming. So just considerations for the older gamer or people who have things like arthritis or hand damage or things like that. So that's why they're there. So rotation wise, this is 4 seconds. You can usually get 2, 3 if you're quick enough in the time that this runs out. And then once you re-hit this, you can usually get 2 more before these run out. So that, so that you could consider that a rotation. If you were really good about managing that, you would get stellar damage. But I'm not so good at that, especially not when it comes to doing parses. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, this is 10 meters. Everything else is 28. This one's instant. Actually, doesn't say 6 meters. Radius, though. Doesn't say how far or how close I can be. Anyway, this one is the limiting factor, but quite honestly, in any real fight you're in, you shouldn't be further than 10 meters from your target anyway. Matter of fact, you should be closer to 7 so that you're always in front of your healers. Because remember, the healer has to stand behind you, and they have to reach the tank, which is over here. So be kind to your healers, stick as close to the ass end of the boss as possible without standing any AoE so that it are at its feet, and generally it's the safest place in the room. So I usually just, because I'm parsing, and you want to compare to apples, because you start refreshed, then 10 meters, and you can just start with whatever way you want to do it. Just make sure that you've got not the best parts I get out of this. Only 66.3. But, I was talking. So, yeah, there you go. It's, if you're a little bit better at keeping your dots down, you can up that quite a bit. And then if you do have Shooting Star, then you should be about 3k more than that consistently. So I really recommend getting your Mage's Guild up. I use Shooting Star on a couple other builds. This one was only using Standard Might because that was what my character already had, and that's what I was originally doing this for. Anyway, I hope some of that helped, and that you see the ease at which this can be done. It's very elastic. You can run around with it. That lightning staff sticks to it. Most things other than the flames don't need precise aiming. You just need to be in the direction. The only thing you really have to worry about placing is the fire rune. So, scholars, if you have any questions, just don't be afraid to just ask me in game or in Discord. And any adventurers out there who aren't in the Scholars Guild, then I stream on Twitch 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So just drop by and ask any questions. And remember, this is not, you know, a build for people trying to do hard mode Rock Grove or, you know, Red Celery. It's for older people, people with a bit of arthritis or hand damage, things that this would help them very much gain more damage in content, running around doing their thing or participating in group events. So keep that in mind. And hopefully I'll see you. Take it easy and have fun.